In 2024, the ChampCar iRacing series heads global as we go to Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium for round 2, and the first appearance of the Mazda MX-5 Miata Cup car this season that will have 2 more appearances. Wherever you are watching on HJBC or on ChampCar Live, welcome to ChampCar's iRacing Championship. And this is indeed round 2. Some great prizes on offer throughout the field this season, both to the season-long champion at the 12 rounds who win themselves a prize to get into a real race car in a real wheel-to-wheel race in the ChampCar Endurance Series for next year, but also some other great prizes along the way to help our ChampCar members be social, race together in practice, but also introduce the world of sim racing to what the ChampCar Endurance Series offers. There's some participation prizes going on as well. Everyone who completes all 4 of the first rounds gets their name into a draw, and then likewise for rounds 5 to 8 and 9 to 12 in our spring, summer and fall participation cups. David Haynes here with Devin Peters and Michael Derby on the production as HJBC brings you live coverage of every minute of the ChampCar iRacing series in 2024. We're excited to have this little bit of a shake-up from previous years, Devin, heading overseas for a couple of rounds.
Yeah, and you take one little trip across the pond and all of a sudden you get a bunch of new names up at the front of the field. And new names it is, with some folks that we've seen once in a while at an endurance race here or there. And then familiar names like Nicholas Love running 4th overall right now in our qualifying session here. Only about 7 minutes left on the clock. But new names as well: Will Salisbury, Lincoln Fox, Paul Darling, Jared Calnis. I would say that those guys may have been around once or twice, but they certainly aren't regulars.
So right now, it's a qualifying session out on track for the 49 drivers before we head towards a 1-hour race with a compulsory pit stop in it as well to give us some of that endurance feeling on our Wednesday night. At the moment, Will Salisbury, Lincoln Fox, Paul Darling are the top 3 in qualifying. And if we cast our minds back to when the season kicked off at Road Atlanta just a couple of weeks ago, Paul Darling took the win from Josh Soto and Christian Peeler as the top 3, and then Nick Love and Alex Coffard. So for Paul Darling and Nick Love, where they sit right now looks very good to get some back-to-back good point scores to start the year.
Yeah, lots of busy traffic out on we're seeing it right now. It's this field is positively covering the surface of Spa-Francorchamps, and there's plenty of surface, but they're 3 wide pretty much every camera angle you get around here right now, and some of them are being more adventurous than others. Who's that? We got Paul Darling taking evasive action way out wide, I think trying to find some clean air to run in.
Yeah, we've got it must be more than 4 miles of racetrack here, just over 7 kilometers. It's one of the biggest racing circuits that Formula One goes to in terms of length. Mm-hmm. It might be just longer than the Saudi Arabia circuit as well. It is a big circuit, incredibly, even longer than Mount Panorama Bathurst. So in theory, they should be able to spread out a little bit, but we did see a bit of a land rush from pit exit at the start of this session, and that's where most of the drivers still are, around about that chain, but some of them starting to spread out. If you find clear air, you know you'll be able to put in a consistent lap and a clean lap, but the story of the night is going to be the power of the draft around the high speeds of Circuit Spa-Francorchamps in this little Mazda.
Yeah, absolutely. This car, classically underpowered in all of its forms, and remains so even in the global spec Mazda trim that they put on the thing these days. Wonderful to drive, but wonderfully underpowered when you go to hit your right foot to the floor. I'm really looking forward to this. We got all kinds of cool drivers out here. I know that I'm saying that some of these folks are strangers to us, some of them a little bit new, but even folks like Will Salisbury, not unfamiliar to racing. Guy's got like 20 years of karting experience. He's worked in IMSA and the IndyCar paddocks, so they might not be names that you folks know, but they're familiar faces to the ChampCar family.
And at the moment, it's pole for Will Salisbury. And with the size of the grid we've got, I'm not sure I put a great deal of stock in qualifying being important for your speed, but certainly I'd rather start up the front than up the back of a large field like this on a race start, just for reasons of safety.
Yeah, I definitely want to avoid the big one. We might not be Daytona here, but I have a feeling that when we're 5 wide going into Lacombe there, it's going to get a little bit hairy on lap 1, maybe lap 2, and certainly the last lap. I'm really looking forward to this one. Josh Soto's a familiar name, jumping up to second place. Soto, a few-time champion now, I think 2-time, 3-time for us, but lots of success in the series, and has plenty of pace. Is he not a champion?
No, I'm pretty sure it's just one time. Reigning champ
Mark
from McCormick the year before, from Alex Albert, multi-time before that, I do believe.
I'm making up the stats. Thank God we got you. But yeah, Josh Soto looking fast out there today, running that dark blue, maybe purple. I guess that's purple and black Gran Turismo sponsored livery. Lots of Gran Turismo veterans out in the field, hearing about those as we were reading through the bios before the race. Lincoln Fox.
My strongest memory of Gran Turismo on the PlayStation 2 was the first time I ever drove the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and that's an experience that sticks with you. You go, damn, what a track that is. And we'll be heading there later on in the season in the ChampCar iRacing series as well. So everyone can look forward to that. If 4 miles of circuit Spa-Francorchamps isn't enough, it's like 11 or 12 on the Nordschleife. Big old circuit that is.
Yeah, and suits that'll be taking place on October 30th in our year-long championship here, right before Halloween, in a nice spooky mood by the time we get there. But no, I was gonna shout out Lincoln Fox, not only a Gran Turismo 5 graduate, I also hear that he's a Mushroom Cup champion. So some real pedigree out in the field here today, and Lincoln Fox running 4th. Got Odyssey up in 5th place there. Sorry, Otis Adams. And Otis is running 5th. Strong qualifying effort from him. We've seen Otis in a lot of series that we cover here on the channel. Spec 5, we see him with ChampCar series as well.
And then if you've got a particular friend, teammate, or sworn blood rival that you're trying to keep an eye on, hjbc.live has the live timing, so you can keep up to date with the pit stop times, the fastest laps, and what position the driver in question is in.
Yeah, and it's got all kinds of good stuff on there. You'll be able to see if any of your friends get an off track here. There's plenty of those to go around. Luckily for us, no incident limit in the ChampCar iRacing series, though you can get yourself in trouble if you hurt the car a few times. Only 1 fast repair on offer during the race. And a pretty tight grid for us. I just covered the top 5, but if you take a look at that timing page, you'll see the top 4 there in the 247s. From 5th all the way back to 25th, they're within a second. Heck, 8/10. And then you go back 26th and out the back of the field up to 45th, and you only got another 3-4 seconds covering the rest of the field. So I figure that we'll see some of the lap traffic that we're famous for around these parts. And it looks like qualifying is going to wrap up, and we'll get to set this gigantic grid.
Sometimes ChampCar is the spirit of teamwork. Here's a bit of teamwork from Drive Trainer Motorsports, a bunch of guys who do race in the ChampCar Endurance Series. I can't pick out the exact order of them, but I guess Bowie Suin's in there. I'd guess some of the other guys from that group. Maybe I wouldn't guess them off the top of my head.
I've seen Kyle Robertson, Thomas Yankee, and Miles Brown actually today. I haven't seen much of Miles.
So the checkered flag's out now, signifying the end of qualifying and the drivers are crossing the line. We'll see if we get any late improvements to the board. Otherwise, it's going to be Joshua Soto up top from Will Salisbury, Paul Darling, and then Lincoln Fox. Jordan Butler up to 8th there. Kyle Robertson 13th. Some of those drivers we were talking about amongst the Drive Trainer Motorsports group. Another group of drivers come out of the final corner. Checkered flag, and the timing line is actually before where Barney's waving the checkered flag there. It's the white line prior to that is where the timing starts and stops from.
And a big lap there from Josh Soto jumping up the grid. He managed to make that last lap count, runs a 2:47.3 to put himself on pole. We'll wait for iRacing to sort the last of these laps out before we go and put the final overlay up there for you. But I'm not seeing anyone else out there on a good enough flyer to pass him.
Yeah, we'll see out some of these laps.
That's a nice livery. I like that silver gray color on that car. That's Gareth Nyland's Mazda crossing the line there.
Falling 7/10 short of improving on the final lap. So no movement from Gareth Nyland, but a couple of consistent laps in what we saw was a busy and frantic qualifying session. Here we've got Charles Brown, improved in the first half of the lap, all on his own through this part of the lap here, flat out typically in these cars through this fast left-hander of Blanchimont here. And
Sir, that's not Charles Brown, that's Charlie Brown.
Oh, right, there we go, all right.
And he's coming into the chicane here.
Needs to improve on a 250.3, and this is looking pretty reasonable to potentially do that. So we're talking about the checkered flag. Actually, the timing counts about there. And it's a 250.1 for a slight improvement in time, but no improvement in position. The 33rd for Charlie Brown.
I think Charlie was saying that looking just to have a good time out here. Likes to do a little bit of sim racing from time to time when he's not racing with the Floridians in that Porsche 944. Anyway, it looks like we got the grid.
Yeah, we do. Joshua Soto on pole, the defending champion. Not sure round one went exactly how he would have hoped for. He's here at round two at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in the best possible starting position from Will Salisbury, Paul Darling, Lincoln Fox, Otis Adams, Nick Love, Jared Collins, Jordan Butler, Aaron Reed, and Gareth Nyland as our top 10. Is that correct? It looks correct. Michael Coates, Ray Lombardi as the next row 6. Kyle Robertson, Simon Fower, Cameron Martineau, Miles Brown, Davis Trask, Andy Cosick, Johnny Sartorelli, and Thomas Yankee as up to 20th place. And we've got 45 cars with qualifying times. The next rows are Colin Lounsbury, Alex Albert, Logan Senhauser, Sean Fritz, Bowie Sewin, Tim Wire, Mark Kruger, James O'Brien, Ian Giebler, and Alex Harrison. In 31st is Will Nonamaker, then Rui Coimbra, Charlie Brown, Brian Allen, Orlando Harrell, Brian Sid, Nick Fogelman, John Nicholford, Brandon West, Steve Hermits is 40th. And then the remaining drivers with qualifying times were Scott Grinnell, David Palermo, Trenton McMillan, Alan Wells, and Stephen Schaefer. We still might see Sean Roberts, Spencer Kemble, Gene Sirota, or Albert Pearsall start from the tail of the grid, depending on how they feel. It is a big grid, potentially 49 global Mazda MX-5 Cup cars, the ND generation, for 1 hour of racing in the ChampCar iRacing series here. They are all gridding up behind the pace car. It's a short formation lap around here before the pace car pulls into that pit entry on the right-hand side of the final corner. And then our front two rows, Josh Soto and Will Salisbury, will lead us towards the hairpin turn one and then the long, flat-out uphill stretch through Eau Rouge and Radion up the Kemmel Straight towards Lacombe and Melmedy.
It is just truly a beautiful sight to see 50 smiling Miatas lining up and getting ready to have some fun. I can just hear them revving their motors. It's like, wee, 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 as they get ready to go.
And the iRacing Costco Kirkland sedan or is it pace car from wish.com? It always zips up to the pace car speed very, very quickly, quicker than the drivers can. So they'll need to be alert off of this race start. Certainly some drivers that bagged points in round one that might want to protect their championship position. Some drivers new to us looking to score big. The first time that ChampCar iRacing Series races for points in Europe.
Yeah, who would have guessed in 1922 that one day this circuit would be graced by the likes of ChampCar as the cars roll away and get ready. And like we said, that Kirkland Rand car gets going fast, so they're going to have to really work hard to close up the gaps before a green flag, which might lead to some chaos. We'll see how it goes.
Here we have them through the bus stop chicane at the end of the lap. Green flag in Barney's hand, but not yet waving as the field works its way onto the pit straight. Now it waves. Now Joshua Soto goes. Will Salisbury's right with him in that outside line. The pack super dense as we head on cold tyres to the first braking zone. The hairpin at La Source. It's 3 wide. It's 4 wide. A little bit of contact. A big checkup going on. But so far, the front of the field working their way 3 wide, 4 wide through. And we've got the first of a couple of spinners back there.
I'm seeing a couple big names. Alex Albert, former series champion. Andrew Kosick, mint facing the wrong way. Charlie Brown wrapped up in it. And Otis Adams, too. Oh, no. Oh, no.
And we got a big one heading down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Many, many damaged cars there. It's 1997 Formula One all over again, perhaps. The race leaders, though, are on the Kemmel Straight. Joshua Soto with Paul Darling now up into second. Will Salisbury's dropped back into 6th here. That's how powerful the slipstream is. Your first and second bumping each other away from the 3 wide behind.
Yeah, and it looks like our front pack's going to get through here cleanly, but it's hard racing up and down the field. We got about 10 cars, it looks like, here holding on as we get going in this lead pack.
So taking a look at some of the movers up front here. Gareth Nyland making a couple. Will Salisbury, like we said, from that front row. Around the outside just didn't seem to work for him, and then he got swamped uphill back into 7th place here. And tyre temperature building for everyone all through the field on this opening lap. The track itself's not that hot, but the sun is out on it, and the high average speeds around here really can load into the tyres.
Yeah, 69 Fahrenheit isn't a warm day, but it's about...
but it is nice.
Yeah, it's a nice day. It's about as cold as it gets in the iRacing sim, though. You get a little bit colder than that, but it definitely makes the tires feel uncomfortable on these opening laps. Got a few people carrying some damage. Looks like that's not Roy Coimbra, that's James O'Brien that's ahead of him, who's minus a bumper. Luckily for him, in the ChampCar iRacing Series, you can pit and take that fast repair right away. So I have a feeling that we'll see some of that throughout the field with anyone who managed to get banged up on that opening lap.
Yeah, that thing's looking a little sick and sorry for itself. This is the leaders about to complete a lap here. That's Gareth Nyland looking to go down the inside of Jordan Butler. And he's now up 5 spots. Of course, all of our leaders stay out here. There's some other bigger gainers further back through the field, like in 10th place, the 27 of Colin Lounsbury, 11 positions gained off that chaotic race start. And behind him, Ian Giebler, 18 gained. So he managed to thread his way through and up to 11th place. And of course, there's some other big gainers throughout, like James O'Brien, Rui Coimbra, and Brian Allen.
Yeah, I'm trying to see... There's a lot of battles going on track right now, so pretty much anywhere you look, you got 2 guys fighting, sometimes 5, sometimes 10 guys fighting for the same position.
So pack racing, always a possibility, in fact, almost always a likelihood. We've got that leading pack. And Salisbury seems to have dropped off that. Miles Brown's leading a little bit of a group. You've got 2 trains and a bit of a nasty bump there. Nick Love pushing Jared Collins around the outside to the race lead. Joshua Soto is going to try to hold on a second here. Paul Darling's dropped back to 4th. And yeah, Collins will be very glad of that assistance that's pushed him to the race lead.
Yeah, Jared Collins repping pretty well here. He's been in the ChampCar Series real world for about a year, but he's got lots of years of karting experience, and he races at Integra out of Wisconsin with HG Racing.
So the leading group's starting to get back together here, as I noticed that with all of that, Will Salisbury, Jordan Butler and Aaron Reed closed back in on the leading group. 8 cars in the lead pack at the moment. They were at risk of dropping these off the back, and I think they still are if Jordan Butler doesn't get a tidy run through the twistier middle section of the lap.
Yeah, and this is a circuit that is really honestly punishing, not just because the draft is so important, but also because it's really difficult. If you haven't gone and downloaded this one and gotten on the simulator and tried it out, there's a lot of really, really committed corners, and the off tracks are right there. So it's really easy to get a penalty if you go too wide.
Butler still just watching the pace of the leaders maybe stretch away from him a little bit. And it can be challenging to go too wide through here. I think Gareth Nyland thinks against it as he slots in behind Nick Love. And Collins thinking about trying to have a dive for the inside here. This seems to be Nyland's favourite spot to be strong on the brakes. Trying to go for third, but there's some contact.
Those bumpers about exploded off the car, Jared Collins there. That was a light hit, but sure didn't look like it. He's going to have to go and pit without a bumper, though he might do a lap yet. And that's the black and gray car of Gareth Nyland that's got no bumper as well. He was kind of in the wrong spot at the wrong time after the contact in the corner there.
There's a few other drivers heading through pit lane at this opportunity. We've already had Simon Foweather, Kyle Robertson, Logan Senhauser, Mark Kruger, Davis Trask. Now we get James O'Brien through.
And he needed a new front end after some indiscretions. And the cars are getting good and spread out, so we will definitely have some lap traffic. They're getting real busy on the Kemmel Straight too. That was a big bump on Paul Darling. And I think they're learning how to get through there without too much drama.
Third, fourth, fifth, sixth here. Nyland not really showing any signs of that damage hurting too much. We've seen a few cars that are still trundling around like that and not hurting too badly, at least when they're in the pack. The real risk here is, do the top two get away? And we know Joshua Soto can be massively, massively quick as around goes Jordan Butler.
Ooh, and that was a tough one. It's an easy mistake to make out there in the no-name corner. You just turn in on that curbing and the car, the rear end, comes away from you. Really downhill and off camber as you're going through there.
Gives more spots to Miles Brown, Colin Lounsbury and Ian Giebler in 7th, 8th and 9th. That's this group. Ian Giebler is now plus 20 positions so far in this race, and Lounsbury, I think, has or had the fastest lap of the race as well. Slightly assisted by the fact that there's a whole heap of drivers that haven't had a clean lap to count as the fastest lap of the race, like Joshua Soto and Nick Love first and second, while Lounsbury's been a little more respectful of the track limits to this point. Therefore, his fastest lap of the race counts at the moment.
Man, and is there anything more Ian Giebler than plus 20 in the first 3 laps? That's a very consistent driver. Very quality in the TCR, and I'd love to see it.
I think he's him and Tim Wire are the only people sad to see the TCR car go, as it gets replaced by the Renault Clio Cup. And then we also get the addition this season of the Porsche and BMWs at some of the later rounds. Forum.champcar.org has all the information. So too does the ChampCar iRacing Series Discord, wherever you find us. The information on the calendar there.
let it be known that despite having no front end, Gareth Nyland in that 036 car very briefly had the fastest lap of the race because of the draft. I don't know how he pulled that off, and he's out of it by about 0.4 seconds now, but heck of a last lap from him, and we'll see if he's able to hold on to the draft. That's going to be really key for him, I think, through this phase of the race.
So 0.8 of a second lead for Joshua Soto, as I think there's a lot of a big bump train going on to try to stop him from getting away. Will Salisbury's getting pushed by Nick Love, he's getting pushed by Paul Darling. And like problem solving, I think 3 heads is better than 1 there. And they close it into about half a second by the end of the straight and at the braking zone. So if they keep doing that, it will be a struggle for Joshua Soto to get away. But also, we've seen some risk comes from bump drafting if it's not clean and tidy.
Yeah, it's tough to do in the real world. It's tough to do in the sim too, especially when you add in a little bit of latency, making those bumps a little harder or softer than you might have expected. Quality stuff here up though at the front. And they're starting
Small
to build
sample size, but I've never been wrecked from a bump draft in real life. And on iRacing, it seems like it needs to be just a little bit squarer from how the collision model ends up working.
Yeah, something like that. There's a bunch of guys in the field that are race engineers, but I don't got enough fancy knowledge to know for sure. Good stuff here, though. It's starting to look a little bit like a Spa race. This track lends itself to kind of 2 passing zones, maybe 3 on the track, and just really got to be on it, taking care of the tires, taking care of the car in between.
Bit of wipers action from Nick Love there, hinting to the fact that rain is coming soon to iRacing. And this is one of the cars that will have rain tires.
I believe so. The 8.6 for sure.
Oh yes, the Toyota GR86. Yeah. We're not racing Formula 4. We're not racing IMSA GTPs. So not every car will have iRacing rain. Is that heading for pit entry in the background? Aaron Reed, strategy.
Yeah, and I think this is a strategy stop for him. He was up about 3 spots through the early phase of the race there. But with the way the field's kind of spread out and him not having much of a drafting partner where he was on track, maybe he drops out and sees if he's got a little more luck about 40 seconds back down the road once all is accounted for. Maybe 50, depending on how much fuel he puts on. And I was going to point him out because he had a little bit of a gap on Sean Fritz in the 19 car and Jared Kalmus in the 34 car. And outside of some folks deep in the pack that have made a lot of moves, these guys are the 2 in the top 10 who've made the most of it. We're seeing Aaron Reed rejoining now on the stream as he does find that draft pack he was hoping to find. He's got Spencer Kemble passing on the outside and Albert Pearsall and Orlando Harrell ahead of him. Orlando in particular at the head of this train, the first black car you're seeing there, he's a guy who's got a lot of experience in this series. He's done a lot of races. And not a bad guy to be following. We'll see if he drops in line here.
Always a Mr. Consistent, but Albert Pearsall goes around the outside of him. Spencer Kemble and Aaron Reed are closing in at quick speed. The start of that curbing is always a pretty decent braking marker as well at the end of the Kemmel straight there. So you see them approach that and you go, oh, almost about time to be trying to woe it up for this sequence of corners.
Yeah. Well, and it's been nice to see Orlando. He's raced a lot with us over the years, and he's just consistently getting better all the way, all the time. I'm not sure he's affiliated with any real-world ChampCar teams just yet, but kind of a quality guy.
What's happened to Josh Soto?
Oh, no.
So now Will Salisbury leads from Nick Love, Paul Darling, Gareth Nyland. Soto was the leader on the Kemmel Straight, but he's now dropped back to 5th while we were looking elsewhere. This is now your leading 4 cars.
You know what, I found it. He was headed into Malmedy, so that's not Lacombe at the end of the Kemmel Straight, but the second right-hander there. And he gets on the curb, hits the brakes, and just slides it out into the gravel trap. Kind of one of those, concentration mistakes. You're focusing somewhere else, looking in your mirrors maybe, and anyway, it's cost him a bunch of time. Luckily, he's got some pace. We'll see if he's able to use that pace to overcome the draft here.
Puts him in a no man's land between this leading 4 and the next group of cars that have been consistently pretty quick, working together pretty well. Miles Brown, Ian Giebler, Colin Lounsbury are just going to cross the start-finish line now, and indeed they're all still cutting laps in the 2:49s.
Yeah, Nick Love getting real pushy there. Is that Nick Love? 647?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the right one. There's always a few of those Love Racing liveried cars around. It's a great way to get your teammates out. If you got one hot shoe on your team, or if you are the hot shoe on your team, this is a great way to make sure all your teammates know how to bump draft, and also maybe teach them a thing or two about the racing line.
Love racing? Yeah, I sure do, man. And he is doing very well lining that up. You just got to not look at the center of the bumper of the car in front of you, but look at the driver of the car in front of you. If your driver's seat's lined up with their driver's seat, your cars are going to be in line.
It's tricky.
The hole punched in the air by these cars, and how early in the straight they sort of reach their aerodynamic VMAX.
Yeah, they got a nice shape to them, but they're bricks at a certain speed, just like everything. And we'll keep watching this lead pack here as they battle it out. So it looks like, I would say, we've got Will Salisbury, Nick Love, Paul Darling in the yellow car, Gareth Nyland in the gray car, doing a great job of holding on. And that's about it as far as cars that are really in the front.
So Aaron Reed with that peculiar early stop runs 15th. He's the highest running car to have gone through pit lane. But what it's done is it's put him amongst quite a significant amount of traffic. I'm not sure is helping him. See, that kind of look to the inside of you at the final corner definitely doesn't help you. It's got Albert Pearsall, Spencer Campbell, Orlando Harrell, all these others around him who haven't stopped yet. He has, and he's nowhere near going as quick as the leaders, Will Salisbury, Nick Love, Paul Darling, Gareth Nyland, the guys he was with before all of this.
Nice move there from Brian Tidd in the 47 car, the white and blue car. Just made a nice move up the inside of Orlando Harrell. And we're seeing him go too wide into Eau Rouge here. Aaron Reed up ahead of them into Eau Rouge and Radiant. Does it nicely ahead of Albert Pearsall. And it is a flat-out corner here, but it's a sketchy feeling always when you're going up it. Spencer Campbell now taking the outside line on Albert because of that loss of momentum. And with a little bit of draft and a little bit of luck, he might have enough room here. Nope. Pearsall's going to hold the inside line. Takes that apex nicely. And Tidd is looking racy coming up the inside of both of them.
And this is exactly what Aaron Reed didn't want any part of, and why he's clearing out down the road. Some very opportunistic stuff going on amongst this pack. Really got more speed than those around him here. Tid works through the pack.
Yeah, Tid's having a pretty good race. I got him up 14 spots, which is pretty good until you look one spot ahead at Albert Pearsall up 27, and one spot behind at Spencer Kemble 24 up. But as one of the better Canadian drivers in the race, he always got to shove guy up.
Yeah, what do you got? 3 or 4 buddies? 4 buddies.
Yeah, 4 buddies from up north, tired of the snow and joining us for racing. John Nickelford's currently running in 17th place in that 44 car. All alone and disappearing from the track because I called out his name. But he's following Sean Roberts ahead, who's actually our biggest gainer of the race. Sean Roberts up 30 spots in that white car, doing pretty well for himself. I think he might actually listen to the pre-race spiel about, to finish first you must finish, and really taking that to heart.
Too many folks been watching ARCA this last weekend, and Trucks and Xfinity and all of it. All of it.
Yeah, maybe scheduling this the week after Daytona was a bad choice on our part. Up at the front, things are getting a little spicy. Will Salisbury's giving up or receiving a push from Nick Love. But there's a big run here coming from Paul Darling, and I'm wondering, oh yeah, we're doing the real train here. I was wondering if Darling would take that run and turn it into something. So far, I've been impressed by how well this group's been working together. I think they recognize that Soto's a bit of a threat. But I've also been really impressed by Gareth Nyland holding on to the back of this group with no front end for the last 20 minutes. Even looking racy, he's peeking out on Paul Darling there.
And critically, they're extending their gap over Joshua Soto. Yeah. Such is the strength of an organised pack in these cars at this circuit. I think a disorganised pack costs you time, as evidenced by Aaron Reed leaving that group of guys behind him in the dust, but also an organised pack, bumping each other down the straight. They're getting 4 or 5 miles an hour extra as they work together like that. And the same thing happens with the draft, bringing them together on the pit straight, on the run down towards Eau Rouge. And even, I think they're flat out-ish, at least through Blanchimont. So that makes a long run from the right-handers here all the way around to the final braking zone of the lap as well.
Yeah, it might not be a super speedway, but, at 85-90% of the lap at full throttle, you're not far off.
My mum says you don't have to be a super speedway so long as you're the best speedway you can be.
Well, after the whole thing got blown up in the war there, they turned this into a pretty good old racetrack. I hope they never lose Eau Rouge and Radion. You hear the murmuring about it.
If we can have the same speed on some inverted commas street circuit in Saudi Arabia where the concrete wall is the apex, then surely we can have the reprofiled Eau Rouge Radion. Joshua Soto, he's seen the top 4 are pulling away from him, so he pulls to pit lane. It's like 50 miles an hour here on the Grand Prix layout. Pretty speedy old pit road here at Spa as he's in search of his box. He'll know where to find it though, because he was the pole sitter. He's in garage number 1.
I mean, we get it stopped. It's a bit of a trick sometimes on the pit lane, but critically dropping back some spots, and that means that the first 4 are now followed by the second group of 3, led up by Miles Brown, repping the Drivetrain Motorsports car as he comes through Radion behind this pack up at the front, running 2x2 like some 2010 NASCARs, I think.
By a fraction of a hair. Ian Giebler was also one of the quickest cars on track last lap as well in that next group. Here's Joshua Soto rejoining, as we expected, ahead of Aaron Reed, Bowie Sewin and Trent McMillan in between. So a bit of clean air actually here for Joshua Soto. This doesn't look so bad But again, where he was before wasn't getting him anything anyway, so...
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
This.
If you're him, maybe you're hoping... I didn't see any tires go on, but maybe you're hoping that the pit cycle is lucky for you, that the other guys catch some traffic, something like that. They're battling in 6th place. Miles Brown ran it a little wide through... what are those? The Bruxelles corner, heading to No Name. And gave up a bit of a run to Ian Giebler. Giebler wasn't able to capitalize.
Going on Google Translate in a second to get the correct French pronunciation of that. I don't trust you.
Bruxelles. Yeah. I just didn't want to, you didn't want to lean into it. I'll give you the full French blue cheese experience,
But in English, it's Brussels as well, so why mispronounce the French? Either correctly pronounce the French or say the English.
They spelt it weird. It's their fault. Alex Albert's looking pretty good through Le Fang.
This is why I don't have kids, out of fear that Devin Peters might be their teacher.
Jordan Butler pushing up behind in that orange and black car. Albert doing pretty well for himself here. Having a decent day for himself, up 12 spots. Butler's actually the only loser in the group, having lost 3. Rui Coimbra up 20 behind them. And we see Coimbra in the Spec 5 World Tour Series that we broadcast on Thursday nights, who's pushing pretty hard here.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if Jordan Butler and Alex Albert have ever met each other, because I've met each of them separately, but never in the same state. There's a bit going on up the road from them as well, with Collins and Sean Fritz losing time through the final chicane, and then this next group of drivers get ever closer. We also are only about a lap and a half away from the halfway point of this race. It's a much bigger lap around Spa-Francorchamps than the season opener at Road Atlanta was. We've gone from 90-second laps to 2-minute 50s. And those two, amongst their fighting, are going to lose out a little bit. Alex Albert's going to get the both of them. Will Jordan Butler and Rui Coimbra be able to slipstream through as well? 2 by 2, 2 rows deep, heading to Eau Rouge and Radion, where it is oh so committed. Sean Fritz is going to drop back. Rui Coimbra is going to get a decent run up the hill. And it looks like Collins is going to push Alex Albert.
You'd think Alex Albert, his Miata would be slower than everyone else's with all the extra weight he's carrying around in the seat there. What, on account of his big balls for not lifting, as he cut across the nose of Jared Collins going into Eau Rouge.
I was like, where are you going? He's a lot slimmer than he used to be. Best shape of his life right now. This is his prime.
He's showing it out on track. That was a heck of a move. I was punching the air. I was biting my tongue. That was real close, but it was well executed.
So it's all battle packs everywhere inside of the top 12 now, as there's 4 cars battling for first, 3 cars battling for 5th, 5 cars battling for 8th. There's no dead air in the top 10 anymore. Joshua Soto's pitted. He'll be hoping to be ahead of some of these drivers. He's just crossed the start-finish line to complete his out lap. So I'll need another lap before I know exactly how he's going, a flying lap to see if this pit stop has helped him out. The lead pace is still good in the 248s, 249s. If they started battling each other, it could very easily drop to 2-minute 50s, 2-minute 51s, and then he'd be in a good spot.
Jared Collins in that number 8 car had a bit of a moment bumping into Alex Albert, and they're wrecking behind him. That's Jordan Butler, who's just stuffed it off in Le Fang there. That's ending his day. So you can see Collins bumps Alex, and then the checkup gets Butler all out of shape, and you see him. He'll come off, gets in the grass, and then slams on the inside wall, and you see the aftermath of it there. But Butler ends up having to tow. The car was pointing wheels all kinds of wrong ways.
Yeah, check up, off throttle, tight up on the curb and the grass, and he really does end up with a number on that car.
Yeah, it's one of those classic spots. These guys aren't slowing down though. They're right back to being on each other's bumpers, and true Mazda be out of fashion. And Collins doesn't seem keen on letting Alex Albert have this spot. putting on a bit of a show for us, these guys. Up at the front, they're just doing normal things like bump drafting at 115 miles an hour, as they seem to do every single lap. Nick Love giving a good push to Will Salisbury ahead. Big momentum, though, behind. And they all lift out of it. The fuel save is really strong at the front.
It really can be in a situation like this. If you're sitting where Paul Darling is, sitting where Gareth Nyland is, you get a great tow off the cars in front. And if the cars in front of you bump drafting like that, then they're also going quickly down the straight, and you're slipstreaming something that is doing about the speed you'd want to do anyway. So you don't really lose time, and you do save a whole lot of fuel. You get the best of both worlds there. Ooh, slide off the curb and turn in here for Will Salisbury, but he holds it. This is a car, short wheelbase, no downforce. It really does do that at every available opportunity.
And as we're racing here, I'm just learning more and more about these guys. Salisbury's got a heck of a... One of you guys should stop him in the Discord. He's got a heck of a resume in the racing world. I think my favorite accomplishment is Daytona 24-hour class victory, split 14, 2019. I think some of the other ones are a little more impressive, but still good.
I thought you were going to say he won Daytona 24 LMP3 class back when that was a thing. That would have been impressive.
That might very well have been. I imagine he'd shouted out some of his sponsors. He's got Pro Rim aluminum wheel protectors, 4D Racewear, and Meatball Motorworks on the car today.
We're past the halfway point. It's a 1 hour race, 29 minutes, 10 seconds to go. All drivers started with 7 gallons of fuel on board, seeing how far that'll take them into this race. For our leaders, it's quite some distance. Others have already stopped to add the 3 or 4 extra gallons they know they're going to need, like Joshua Soto, who sits 42.5 seconds away from this lead. And Simon Foweather and Aaron Reed, the next group of cars, have done that. Aaron Reed's been for, I think, a loop on the last lap, because he's now dropped behind Simon Foweather, and Kyle Roberts and James O'Brien and some others have already stopped. Yeah,
and for those wondering about our wayward leader, Josh Soto, he is running laps in the 249s on average, which is quick, but not quick enough to not pay for it. We're seeing some action here as Jared Collins is losing some ground to Rory Coimbra, who's getting a bit of a run on him. Gone back and forth a couple times, and they're going back and forth again through the highest speed part of the track. Nicely executed there from Rory Coimbra.
That's where you lose time, as evidenced by how quickly Sean Fritz arrives on the scene.
And Sean Fritz lost his own time there, had to do a big lift to avoid hitting Jared Collins in the bad way.
In Belgium, that's what they call fries.
Ray Lombardi looking good in that golden car. Unfortunately for him, his day hasn't gone to plan. He's 45th right now. Quality driver and quality series organizer.
Probably our most local driver.
Yeah, I've heard that he can just drive down the road to this one.
Because he's in the south of the Netherlands as well, south of Amsterdam. So he's actually pretty close to the Belgian border in Tilburg.
Mm-hmm. I think that might be my favorite paint job of the day too. I like that gold and purple look. My co-commentator does not agree. You folks can't see his face, but that is the frowny face.
That's the frowny face I make when the map I was looking at didn't load.
Ah, okay.
Like, how far is it from Tilburg to Circuit Spa-Francorchamps?
Ray Lombardi running it real wide, making sure that the leaders can get by safe. And by leaders, I mean the 8th place driver, Alex Albert.
The answer is a 2-hour drive. 110 miles.
I would make that drive several times a year. Speaking of drivers, we got Will Salisbury with a little bit of gap, Nick Love, Paul Darling, and Gareth Nyland all packed up. And you wonder, we're getting closer and closer. I wonder when the first one's going to bite on that pit lane. Still impressed by Gareth Nyland holding on to this pack, seemingly effortlessly. Now we're looking at the second pack. We'll see if any of them decide to split off. Not quite. And we got Ray Lombardi off-roading, the rest of the world staying on the track. Oh, almost.
Collins has been hit by the looks of things in the final corner.
Yeah, that was
Fritz
Sean
behind him at the moment.
Yeah, Fritz brakes, but he doesn't brake hard enough, and just contact in the braking zone and punts Jared Collins right off. And Collins rejoins, continues on with no draft partner, and Alex Albert takes that opportunity to dive into the pit lane.
He's followed in by Alex Harrison.
And I think those two guys talk to each other, judging by the size of the HJ decal on the front of the hood. So that might be a little bit of coordinated action there. Pace still quick at the front, 2:48.8 last time by, even with all the fuel saving. And Albert pulls away. He's one of our first scheduled stops. We see about 29 seconds of fuel, 49 seconds through the lane. Harrison's on the same schedule. We rejoin the lead pack, who's battling hard with Charlie Brown coming up ahead of them.
Yeah, this is our top four at the moment. Do believe Paul Darling holds down the fastest lap of the race at the moment. He runs in third for the moment. Definitely been helping Gareth Nyland to stay in this battle.
Yeah, Darling, an accomplished driver in his own right, does some grid life racing in the real world, but would like to get his feet wet in a real world ChampCar. So if you know anyone, if you got a team and you're looking for a renter, well, I can tell you he's pretty fast. Holding on to the front here. And when you see a guy with 5,700 I rating, you know, that's top 2% on the service, top 3% on the service. He's doing pretty well for himself.
Yeah, he's got some numbers. So pit entry to the right-hand side here. 23 minutes to go. They're all in your top four, so I expect we'll have everyone else follow likewise. You got to shed a lot of speed on your way into the pit entry, and then you get to the yellow cones where the 50 miles an hour starts. So it's not a big stop at the cones, it's more on the way in there. And they're all going to have to find their pit crew, which of course are ordered based on qualifying. So most of them are down the exit end of the lane. How about this? Miles Brown, Ian Giebler, Colin Lounsbury, they all stay out, and I'm stroking my chin in bemusement at this one. That's interesting.
As I was watching that pack coming in, Gareth Nyland overshot the box a little bit, must have misjudged it without his nose, but you can see the evidence of the fast repair there. He uses it, and that car is good as new. I could use some of those for the real race car. And we'll see, Paul Darling manages to save the most fuel. Makes sense, he was running third last time by, so he would have had a nice draft every time they came down the straight. And he had 2 or 3 seconds of fuel on Nick Love.
There's a trap you can so easily fall into here, where you go, this is how much fuel I burnt per lap to this point. This is how many laps are remaining, so this is how much I should take on board. But because you have such a quick stop, you exit on your own, and your fuel burn from here to the finish might be a lot higher than it was early on. And so from that calculation, you're seeing Paul Darling is about 4 or 5 seconds of fuel, like half a gallon short of what everyone else has done in the same pack as him.
11th place, Josh Soto, no longer, because he's passed Gareth Nyland on the way out of the pits. So all of our Josh Soto fan club, you can rest assured that he's right back in this race. So he rejoins what are effectively our leaders. He's got a few seconds to Nick Love, and probably 5 up to Will Salisbury, and then maybe 7 to Paul Darling right now. But his stint without any draft has not caused a problem yet.
keeping an eye on the pace of Miles Brown, Ian Giebler, Colin Lounsbury. See if going a lap longer here means that they're going to have to save any extra or maybe coast and splutter their way to pit lane. No sign of that just yet. This seems like a decent enough in-lap, and they've got plenty of clear track to go with it as well.
Miles Brown in that Drivetrainer Motorsports car leading the way. Always a quick bunch of guys, that Drivetrainer group. They typically tend to bring a team, sometimes two out for our endurance series events. And of course, ChampCar iRacing Series got lots of prizes on offer, not just for the Sprint Series. As you're watching today, we got 4 endurance events that are run as teams that run over the course of the season. And each one of those races has a $200 prize attached to it, as we see this whole group taken to the pit lane this time. Ian Giebler, Colin Lounsbury runs it a little wide. So $200 to the winner of each of those endurance series events, and then another $200 on offer to the overall champion of that series, that mini series that we host.
At Paul Darling, about to inherit the race lead now that Miles Brown, Colin Lounsbury, and Ian Giebler are in the pits. And hey, Devin, we've still even got some 2023 prizes that we're going to draw at the end of this as well. So the drivers who took part in all 4 of the fall season races at the end of last year. There's 6 of them, and one of them will get drawn a lucky prize. So you've just got Sean Robertson, Bowie Suin, a couple of other cars further through the field yet to stop, but I think we're about to see everyone with 40 minutes down, 20 to go from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Here's Ian Giebler. He's quick out of the lane compared to Miles Brown, and then Colin Lounsbury.
Yeah, that was a quick stop from Giebler. Must have been doing some real saving.
So your questions from here to the end is, did Paul Darling take enough fuel? He leads by 3 seconds over Will Salisbury. Then there's 4 seconds to Joshua Soto, who has gotten past Nick Love. Are Nick Love and Gareth Nyland going to help Joshua Soto get up to the lead? Or are they seeing him as their key rival?
It's hard to say, man. And so we had Soto stop early, relatively speaking, right? He had that little incident. I imagine the tires will be fine, but he joins a distinguished club in our little overlay here. He's got the bright red around his pit stop time, which means he had a very short stop relative to some of the other folks we got out there. And I'm curious to see if he'll have enough fuel to get to the end, or if he'll have to do some saving. Notably, though, Paul Darling even 3 seconds shorter than Soto was. So unless Darling was a real master at saving fuel in that first stint, he's going to have to do some work in the second one here.
My heart wants to say Will Salisbury's in the best position here. No real question marks on his fuel there behind Paul Darling, who has, but the pace that Joshua Soto has done these last 2 laps, he is reeling time out of Salisbury, and they've still got 8 laps to go in this race. Soto he now sees the prize. He has got mega speed going on. He's reeled the gap to the lead down from like 7.5 seconds to 6.8 just on this lap so far. It's that middle sector. He's just floating so much speed.
Soto is a fast driver. Like we've seen him do some. We've seen him do some.
We've seen him in some other cars where he's not quite as strong relative to the competition, but in this one, it's something special.
There's a reason that he showed up on so many "Who's Your Rival" lists in the series, because this is a guy who makes a habit of showing up out of your rearview mirror and just arriving on your rear bumper.
When you swing at the king, you best not miss. So for Paul Darling and Will Salisbury, maybe a little bit of nerves as the defending champion is behind them and closing. Now, you also got to ask, what do Nick Love and Gareth Nyland do? They seem to struggle to go with him through the middle sector, but they're close enough now that downhill here, you pick up the speed, you start buffeting against the air, you go just about flat out up the hill and you carry as much speed as you can, still uphill on the Camel straight here, you can close from more than half a second back right to the rear bumper of the other guy, especially if Gareth Nyland is going to give you a helping little hand. This is a replay of Johnny Sazzarelli on feed entry. Some reason or someone.
Sounds like it was a production error, but we're all good. We're watching Will as he wheels through, and now Josh Soto as he wheels through the right-hander at Malmedy.
Just close to him at the end of the straight there, but didn't quite get to Joshua Soto. And then here's
where it starts.
He's very quick. You see Love have a little bit of a bobble there, not quite as smooth a line as Soto throws it in with one movement, has just a little slide all the way through the corner, but it seems controlled the whole way.
Yeah, really pushing. Last time by, he took 2/10 out of each of the guys ahead. They'll need a little more than that on average.
I'm also enjoying Alex Harrison's 751, the battle that he's having at the moment. He's around the outside of Kyle Robertson. They're all in behind James O'Brien, who I think just stuck a move. Johnny Sartorelli's in the pink machine as he's down the inside of Rivage, Brussels sprouts, however you want to call it. And so, yeah, good little battle amongst these four. This is 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th position.
Yeah, and just a lap ago, Alex Harrison was leading that pack. So that was James O'Brien putting a move on him at La Source, and then now James has gotten this all kinds of wrong here at Deux de Gauche.
They found a rallycross bump out there over the curb.
Oh, up the inside was Harrison for a moment. Discretion, the better part of valor. He lets Kyle Robertson hold on to it. Another drive trainer car putting on the moves.
It's a lot of them out there. They've got green and black, and then the pinstriping is a different color across every single car. So what color's Robertson? Because otherwise, surely Miles Brown gets dibs on Brown.
That's a good question. James O'Brien holding the outside. He races that Treasure Coast Miata in the ChampCar series. He's got two Miatas on the outside of him going into the left-hander here. Oh, it's tight through here at Blanchemont. Just to hold it, Harrison takes it the extra wide line, and I think Kyle Robertson's going to hold him off.
You're the French guy. Blanchemont means blank mountain or what?
White mountain.
White, okay.
It's funny.
But Mont Blanc.
Also White Mountain, just different.
Yeah,
way.
So what? One of them's an official name, and the other one is just.
Yeah, one of them's probably more
Old French
noun? Than Old French, and then adjective noun. But anyway, we can do grammar class in core French on Monday. Okay.
Gareth Nyland's gotten ahead of Joshua Soto, 3rd and 4th. So the pursuit of the leading two, we'll see how that shakes out here now that Soto is no longer leading this group. This is the part of the lap, again, where we think maybe Soto should be leading, maybe Soto is the quickest, but we haven't seen a whole lot of Nyland with the front splitter on the car. So here we go. But he's at risk of losing his rear bumper to how close Soto is all over him through this twistier part of the lap.
Soto's got some real pace. I'm curious to see, though, because Gareth has been pretty quick all night long. I've been excited to see what he can do once he gets a proper front end on the car.
He's needing to be just a little defensive through here, and Soto is all over him, not really able to push him through these parts of the lap here.
Well, and if you're Soto, this is where you've been making so much time, you just kind of hate to follow someone through the middle section of the course. Sector 2 here is everything.
And Formula 1, the guys have got lots of wing on the car, are quick through Sector 2, but slow through Sectors 1 and 3. Everyone's running the same setup here, but it just goes to show Sector 2, a lot of medium speed corners. But Sector 3, this is one of those long straights through Blanchemont. And then Sector 1, of course, with the Camel straight. Soto gets back ahead and tucks right in line. Oh, to be perfect through here. Is that just a tiny hit on the back bumper there? Gareth Nyland from Nick Love gets him unsettled.
Yeah, just a little touch. It doesn't take much at those kinds of speeds and loads. That was good. Nicholas Love bonks the curve a little bit, pushes him out wide. And all those gaps are closing up. Darling last time by a 48.9, a 48.8 for Salisbury, a 49 flat for Soto, and that's with fight.
Soto, Nyland, Love. Keep an eye on them, I think, on the Kemble Straight this time, because that's where Gareth Nyland got past last time. Maybe if they're trying to catch the lead, it's not the way to go. But if you're trying to score points over Joshua Soto, it's the way to go. And, you can consider how you want to play this game. But, yeah, Nick Love, I think, gets to play Kingmaker here. Which driver he decides to push. If Nyland pulls out and Love pushes him, but instead Nyland pushes Soto, Nick Love pulls out.
They're playing chess, I'm playing checkers. I'm not sure I get it, but it's working. I think I saw Soto tapping the brakes. Ooh, a little moment there from Nick Love, and Nyland took evasive action.
So now Love gets ahead of Nyland. Joshua Soto has a little bit of buffer here, but he has not been catching Paul Darling or Will Salisbury on this lap so far. No hint of Paul Darling slowing down just yet with 10 minutes to go. Lap time's just scraping towards 3 minutes.
15th place is heating up. Alex Harrison is 3 wide with Johnny Sartorelli and who's that up the inside? Oh, that's Kyle Robertson, that drive trainer car. Nicely executed. 3 into 2 and 2 into 1. And Alex Harrison's going to be the loser in all that. He's going to give up the spot to James O'Brien behind as well.
Close moment there, but again, it shows if you go to pass and you don't stick it, you really can lose out in groups like this. And there are a handful of 4-way battles throughout the field, which is this one, but you go a tiny bit further back, and teammate Bowie Suin likewise involved in a similar battle through this part of the lap. Sean Roberts, Spencer Kemble, Bowie Suin, Orlando Herald, this group of cars here, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th at the moment. How deep do points get paid again, Devin? 30-something?
Yeah, I believe it's 38th. I'll confirm that for you. Yeah, top 38 drivers must complete at least 50% of the race distance. And there's always points on the line because you got to do at least 50% of the race distance if you want to qualify for that draw. That draw that for this season is $250 just for showing up. 250 champ bucks off your next race. All you got to do is come out and do 4 races with your buddies. No better deal in racing than ChampCar, and none better than the ChampCar iRacing series on iRacing.
3 more laps to go if I'm doing the sums correctly. Colin Lounsbury lays down some interesting shaped lines on the exit of the final corner as Rui Coimbra and Simon Foweather are in pursuit of him, and then Alex Albert in pursuit of all of them. Not a whole lot of change amongst the top 3, just Nick Love and Gareth Nyland dropping out of the draft of Joshua Soto, who's still not closing quick enough on 2nd and 1st.
Soto's fighting for all he's worth, but those guys at the front, they got some pace, and they actually have pretty nearly identical pace. So I haven't seen Darling do any of the fuel saving that we were worried about, so maybe he managed to save enough. Either way, it's 3 seconds to 2nd and 3 seconds to 3rd, so one wrong move, and this will be a real tight battle here for the end of the race. 2 to go at the line.
My normal rule is if you rock up at an event and 9 out of 10 people are in a suit, the person in a t-shirt has probably misread the invite. So when everyone else has taken 27, 28 seconds of fuel, and Paul Darling is the only one who's taken 21 seconds of fuel, my initial judgment is he's the one who misread formal as casual.
I'm not sure you're wrong about that one, but Johnny Sartorelli showed up in a pink car, and he's doing pretty well for himself, all things considered, as he makes a nice move there. And you might have seen it flash up on the screen, but deep back in the pack, Cameron Martineau just ran a 2:47.8 in 27th place all alone, running a Mario livery. So you can be really fast too.
He must have found one of those, what are they, bullet bills or something?
Yeah, maybe he's got a little mushroom, triple mushroom action back there in the pack. Anyways, we'll join back into the field. Rejoining that battle now with Sardarelli, Robertson up at the front, and then it's James O'Brien and Alex Harrison up behind. Spreading out a little bit now, but they're still fighting over the back half of the top 15.
Tell you what, we're touch and go on this race distance.
Yeah, it's flashing back and forth. We might have some guys that are hoping that it goes one shorter, not one longer.
So Darling's crossing the start-finish line now.
No flag.
There's no white flag out, so definitely at least 2 more.
Yeah, I got 2.0.
I'm just like worried about, is it still 3? Because
I've got 2 to go at the line. Sorry, 1 to go next time by.
See, 250 plus 250 is 5 minutes 40. And that's about what was on the clock when they crossed the start-finish line there.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was 5:45 on the clock, when there were still 3 laps to go.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's going to come down to, how fast do you dare push it? Because I'm certain that Paul Darling doesn't have the fuel to do an extra lap.
Yeah, we go back to my, 9 out of 10 people have got a tie on situation.
Yeah.
Like
42-second pit stop, and the rest of the field did 47. He's done some quick maths.
I mean, he was in a position to save, but again, so were a lot of other people who haven't gone down the course that he has.
Colin Lounsbury giving a big push on Roy Coimbra. Not looking to jump out this time, but I think he'd like to be in second place going into the last lap in your respective battles. And they're getting all sorts of busy. I don't know if I'd like to be first, second, third, or fourth in this battle. Don't want to be first, apparently. Sardarelli. And Harrison jumps out of line for second, but then has to lift. Was thinking about going for the push, but thought about it too late. Ooh, and the early brakes there from Kyle Robertson threw off Harrison. And too wide, giving some breathing room to James O'Brien. Yeah, they're going to be doing that in about 10 different battle packs around the field right now. Paul Darling still running his own race, though, out at the front all alone. And we'll see when he comes to the line this time. Is it going to be... It's 3 minutes 40 left. 2 minutes 47's a lap. Is he going to get a white flag or no? This could be the race.
6 battle packs throughout the field, including all the way down to the battle for 25th, 26th, and 27th. Is in the spirit of ChampCar. You want everyone to have someone to race. The ChampCar iRacing Series overall champion is a little bit of a talent competition, a talent search. But the ChampCar Endurance Series itself is meant to be the, affordable home of everyone who's always wanted to go racing can go racing. So it's in the spirit that a lot of those drivers just want to have, someone to race, and that's what we're getting with this car and this track combination.
Oh.
No white flag.
No white flag.
2 more to go for Paul Darling.
Oh, and it's always tricky here. I think that the different timing lines really mess up some of the fuel calculators out there. I'm seeing less. I'm seeing 0.8 laps remaining on my timing screen.
Yeah,
but no white flag.
No. So you can ignore the timing screen, because what Barney does is what matters, whether he waved a white flag or didn't, and he'll never wave a checkered flag without first waving a white flag. So if there's no white flag when you're expecting a white flag, then the white flag comes next, and then the checkered flag the lap after. We're not the Rolex 2358 here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, but very curious. I wonder how many of them realize that they might be in some trouble. We'll see.
This is Miles Brown and Ian Giebler. They're 12 seconds behind Gareth Nyland in 5th, but maybe close enough to pick up some spots if someone has to make a very, very last-minute splash and dash, and they are trying to stay ahead of this group of rapid cars, Rory Coimbra, Colin Lounsbury, and Simon Foweather.
Gaps at the front are shrinking. Will Salisbury still 3 seconds back in second, but Josh Soto's only 2 seconds behind him now. He's just car lengths away from getting into that draft.
This has been some of the most entertaining racing to watch here amongst these four. Johnny Sartorelli now in front of Kyle Robertson. James O'Brien gets swallowed up in the speed down the Kemmel Straight, drops back into third in line here, 16th overall, and Alex Harrison is hopefully learning something here. It's been a very interesting battle back and forth between these four, where there don't seem to be really any thoughts other than what positions can I get and can I get them now.
Fifth place, Gareth Nyland and Nicholas Love are getting real close together. These two have been going back and forth kind of quietly behind Josh Soto as he's been trying to pull away. But they were real close through the fine this time. And they're getting a big draft here. I wonder if Nyland goes for the slingshot and if Nick Love lets him at this point.
Gaps are starting to close because Paul Darling was just solidly 3.2 seconds ahead of Will Salisbury for ages, now down to 2.7. Joshua Soto also catching Will Salisbury. This is when we'll see the white flag. Paul Darling stays out onto the start-finish line. There's Barney waving it. You're not going to miss that this time, telling you you've got to do one more lap of Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps.
And who's going to sputter?
And who's going to get the chocolates?
Yeah.
There's your top four working their way through. La Source, the turn one hairpin, now flat out. And it's also the white flag for all our other competitors inside of the top 10. Nick Love and Gareth Nyland, Miles Brown, Ian Giebler, Colin Lounsbury, Rory Coimbra, Simon Foweather here. Alex Albert there in 11th. Collins and Aaron Reid the next group behind. And our favourite battle of four. Sartorelli now ahead of Robertson, James O'Brien and Alex Harrison. Expect that to change on the Kemmel Straight this time around. Not seeing much more closing of the lead gaps.
Yeah, Darling still managing to hold. Had a big lift, but still managing to hold. Yeah.
Here's Giebler going around Miles Brown. So if you've been waiting all race, you've seen that white flag, now's the time. Brown might get it back, and they're going to consider 3 wide in the group behind. Trying to slot the middle of the gap goes Simon Foweather, and it might work as he goes 8th place. Oh, gets a little bit of a hit from Rui Coimbra, who was too deep on the brakes. Lounsbury's out wide on the slippery stuff. But Simon Foweather gets in front before they get to the twisty section of the lap.
Leaders going through the second sector. We got, it looks like Paul Darling just coming into Le Fang with Will Salisbury now just 2 seconds behind him. But you got to hold that 2 seconds and change, because if you don't, it's going to be him right on your bumper going into the last chicane.
If he holds on to this for the win, Paul Darling is a strategy genius, and it's something that will treat him well across all of the races, as every race of the ChampCar iRacing series has a compulsory pit stop. And we've seen drivers with an immense amount of speed join the ChampCar iRacing series and then struggle when it comes to the pit stop strategy in terms of measuring out the right amount of fuel and how to go about their strategy, maybe getting stuck in traffic, etc. You've got to have both the race pace and that strategy knowledge. Nyland and Love are going to be side by side in this battle for 4th and 5th. Nyland just getting ahead on the way in a Blanchimont, but I don't see how Paul Darling can come up short now into the final corner. Short run out of the bus stop chicane to the checkered flag, to the timing line. His lead still 2 seconds. Paul Darling will win at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps from Will Salisbury and Josh Soto. A slide in the background there for Nick Love means Gareth Nyland will cross in 4th, and Paul Darling goes back to back to open up a new season, and a switchback to switchback goes Ian Giebler.
They're busy behind him. Roy Coimbra's getting a run on the outside of Colin Lounsbury. And that was close. It looks like Coimbra's going to be held off by Colin Lounsbury, though.
Brad Collins,
our battle.
Rally, Kyle Robertson, James O'Brien's in way deep. He overshoots the corner.
Yeah,
and Kyle Robertson goes around him and clears it up.
Yeah, and that was easily cleaned up there. A couple cars running out of fuel. Orlando Harrell's dead in the water on the back straight. They're too wide, though, ahead of him. That's Sean Roberts up the inside of Blanchemont here with Orlando Harrell holding the outside. Switches back to the inside, though, coming into the chicane. Orlando going to be the last of the late breakers. Ooh, and they both tried for it. Orlando rolls a little bit extra to the apex, but he won't have it for the second corner. Will he have the run? He does.
He's going for some kind of over-under switchback, and it will be very close. That white line there is the timing line. And Orlando Herald ends up just behind.
Whew. Spicy, yeah. 0.02 of a second separating those two. Albert Pearsall and Will Nonamaker are fighting at the back here. Is that Will or Wayne? I think that's Wayne. They cross the line. Wayne ahead. It's Will.
The iRacing account is called Wayne Nonamaker. I switched it to Will.
Oh.
Okay. So it would show correctly on the graphics. Will Nonamaker driving.
Ooh, Ray Lombardi having a little moment in the last corner, doing a donut for us.
Big lap around here, so there's still a few other cars to come around and take the checkered flag. If you're within 3 minutes of the leader, okay. Yeah, you still get to finish this out. So Sean Fritz, Nick Fogelman, Charles Brown, Logan Senhauser, a few others to come around. Still not helping us beat the allegations about how much the Dutch smoke.
And with that, we put up the finishing graphic there. So after a daring pit strategy, Paul Darling takes it home, starting third, finishing first. Will Salisbury second to second, and Josh Soto first to third is our podium. Gareth Nyland fourth, Nicholas Love fifth, Miles Brown sixth, Ian Giebler seventh, Simon Foweather eighth, Colin Lounsbury ninth, Reed Coimbra 10th, Alex Albert 11th, Jaron Collins 12th, Johnny Sartorelli 13th, Kyle Robertson 14th, James O'Brien 15th, winning that little battle pack. Nope, not winning that little battle pack. That was Johnny Sartorelli who did. Alex Harrison 16th, Brian Allen 17th. 18th is Sean Roberts, Orlando Harrell in 19th, Cameron Martineau in 20th, and the fastest lap of the race. 21st was Bowie Suen, 22nd, Jordan Butler, 23rd, Trenton McMillan, Will Nonamaker, 24th, Albert Pearsall, 25th, Spencer Campbell, 26th, Andrew Cossack, 27th, Scott Grinnell, 28th, Steve Hermetz holding it down for Canada back in 29th, Otis Adams, 30th, Mark Kruger, 31st, Thomas Yankee 32nd, Sean Fritz 33rd, Nick Fogelman 34th, 35th is Charlie Brown, John Nickelford 36th, Brandon West 37th, Aaron Reed 38th, 39th goes to Logan Senhauser, our first car lap down. Brian Teed 40th, Ray Lombardi 41st, 42nd Alan Wells, John Sirota 43rd, Stephen Schaefer 44th, Michael Coates 45th, and I believe that's the last of our qualified finishers. That might actually have been Alan Wells, the last of our qualified finishers. Anyway.
Well, let's see who joins us. Josh Soto knows how to find us. Paul Darling, I think, worked it out last time. Big cool down lap. Apparently no one is in a hurry.
Hey, you got a long straightaway to get drifting on. And I'm scanning up and down, not seeing anyone jumping to the booth for us today. So it looks like they're all victims of that orange smoke that happens at those Dutch races, you know. Well, we got one jumping in. I think Johnny Sartorelli. Normally we don't go all the way down to 13th place, but Johnny, you were putting on quite a show in that pink car today. It looked like you're having a great time. Got a microphone there, Johnny? No luck.
I feel like we've been had, Devon.
Yeah, this has never happened before. Well,
Do we
with
smell?
that, it must be the bird. It must be the bird outside your window. That's been the thing. Anyways, coming up, we've got March 13th is our next round, Laguna Seca, and we'll be bringing a newcomer to the series, the Renault Clio from Laguna Seca. Should be a good time, and I bet you that you probably won't break the noise rules driving one of those Renault Clios at Laguna Seca. Let's see.
Here's a fun fact for you. The 1.3 litre turbo engine in the Renault Clio Cup car is the same that Mercedes-Benz use in all of the 200 numbered models. So C200, A200, all of them, Renault engine. Well, it's a shared design.
Good news. I found Paul Darling. And Paul, after what seemed to be a fairly daring pit strategy, you had plenty of fuel at the end of it all.
Yeah, I was able to take advantage of where I was in the lead pack and save a boatload of fuel. And I wasn't expecting it to be as effective as it ended up being, but yeah, I just took advantage of where I was in the pack there.
Hey, it worked really well, man, and a quality race from you. Is this the first season that you've joined us?
Yeah, I think this is the first season.
Yeah, I believe so. It's impressive to come out here in a big old grid like this and put yourself on third in qualifying and first in the race. It looked like a pretty calm second half, but it can't have been very calm inside that car.
Yeah, it's one of those. That second half of the race was one of those where it's might not be enjoyable to watch, but the guys inside the car are just trading tenths and really trying to get the most out of the cars.
Well, it sure looked like you're pushing pretty hard out there. You got any experience racing Miatas outside of your 10 years or so on iRacing?
Nope, I have not driven a Miata on track in real life yet. Hopefully,
Well,
that's a yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you keep this up, you might get an opportunity, one step closer to that prize.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for coming out and putting on a show.
Have a good night.
And I think that's it for our podium today, Haynes.
Certainly was a very interesting adventure for the ChampCar iRacing series across to circuit Spa-Francorchamps. And the first time that the Mazda MX-5 comes out of the shed for this year, it'll have a couple more opportunities. Remember, forum.champcar.org has the full schedule, all the information you need if you want to join us on track, and of course, where to find the broadcasts for the rest of the season. Plenty more interesting racing to come. And Paul Darling, after 2 back-to-back wins to kick off the year, might have a little bit of a target on his back. He's joined on the podium by Will Salisbury and Joshua Soto. Thanks for joining us wherever you are watching on ChampCar Live or HJBC channels. That's where you'll find the next round in a couple of weeks' time from Laguna Seca. I've been David Haynes with Devin Peters and Michael Derby. We'll see you there.